Welcome back, our viewers, and our guest this evening. She's Dr. Rania Azmi, founder of Alexandrite Decisions. Dr. Rania, good evening to you, and it's really a pleasure to have you tonight with us on Hala Kuwait in such an interesting topic we're going to share with our viewers this evening. And first, we'd like to ask you about specifically what drives good decision making today.
Wow, thank you for having me. That's a strong introduction and
straight to the point, let's say.
Straight to the point, big question in the beginning. So hi, dear viewers. Well, what drives a right decision? Let me recall a memory of one of the conferences I spoke at. It was at Monte Carlo. And you know, it's a city for drives, one of the many cities driving the financial industry. And there was a question about not per se the decision, but it's about how to make right investments and decisions and everything. And historically in the industry, you have buy side and sell side. So I said, like, as simple as, first, you have to understand, if you are in the sell side, what you are selling, and if you are in buy side, what you are buying in investment. So what drives right decision is to understand the decision and get your data right, but there is a balance over time and precision about data. So this is a separate issue.
This will lead us to the next question about the good decision making, as you mentioned, thanks to you. And also we're wondering about why people fear decision making when it comes to financial topics or financial subjects or financial challenges.
Well, that's another good question. Well, financial decision making is something that gained its reputation by being feared. I think any decision will be feared depending on the consequences. So we overrate the financial consequences, but lives also matter. So I think in the healthcare, people should fear healthcare decisions, not only financial decisions. But yes, it's a common, I would say, fear that they fear financial decisions. In my humble opinion, it's because of the consequences. But having said that, it also depends on the people. I will mention another panel. It was in Boston this time, and it was about the topic of risk on and risk off environment, which was very interesting. And just to simplify that to your viewers, risk on environment, it means that investors have the tolerance. They have tolerance, what is called appetite. Like, imagine your appetite for food, you have appetite for risk. So you will be prone to more risk, so you can take more financially viable decisions and without fearing it. If it's risk off environment, it means I am afraid of taking any extra risk, and that's why I will be taking a step back and think twice before making the decision. So I would say, just in short, people fear financial decisions because of the high stake of those decisions.
It happens most of the time. I don't know why I remember, Doctor, let's say our days or your days when you were a university student and then postgraduate student also. Of course, all of the professors, they give us the outline of a specific task or a specific assignment. And I believe you witnessed some of your colleagues, they don't follow the outlines as the professors want them to follow. And then the assignment, they don't do great with the assignment, unfortunately, and they don't get the grades they want at the very end. So it can happen to leaders also when it comes to misunderstanding the data or information. So can data ever mislead the leaders?
Oh, that's a very tricky question. Because in the era of AI, we think that data is empowering. So it can, I would say, it can be an enabler and it can be a disturber. And that's happened also for large amount of data or small amount, it's not relevant. Like the data is supposed to inform my decision. If I have total certainty about the decision I'm about to make, it's no longer a decision. Decision implies that there is an amount of uncertainty. So if I'm gathering information and I have no certainty over the credibility of these data, and not only the credibility, how relevant they are to my decision, I think that can be very misleading.
It can be misleading, and also a lot of people, they recommend that if you're happy, do not decide anything. Don't give promises. If you're angry, if you're sad, if any unstable emotions you're facing, don't make any decisions. And this why we would like to ask you how much emotion is affecting or good, or when interference is healthy to make a decision when it comes to the time of high emotions or low emotions or any rate of emotions.
This is very interesting question, but it is as simple as asking, should we be human when taking the decision or not? Because let's recognize that emotion is part of us. And there was a theory about brain, and it's not segmenting the parts of the brain to 4 parts, just metaphorically, not actual segregation or segments of the brain, saying that there is part which is analyzing, part is more strategizing, and part which is related to the heart and emotion, and another part futurist, like looking into the future. And according to this theory, which is done over 500,000 people, there is hardly any person that think in these silos. Like in any decision, we take pieces or percent of each way of deciding. So I don't think emotions is excluded from our decision, but to your point, we have to be aware or conscious about our state of mind. How do we feel at this moment, and if it's something that will support our decision or not. Because obviously, a silly decision about what you would like to eat when you do grocery shopping, if you are hungry and a little bit irritated, your decisions about the food that you will buy will be completely different than the one that you will buy when you are mindful and very relaxed, and so forth for bigger, high-stake decisions.
It's always like this, and then it also make us say, Doctor, well said from your behalf, of course, when it comes to emotions. Let's go now to the professionals level or the professional stage. Like sometimes when you see professionals managing their own businesses and controlling the plans of their businesses and decision making also, we think about professionals and their mistakes. We must think about their mistakes and their flaws so we can avoid it when we reach their levels. So professionals, can they do mistakes with money and financial decisions?
Well, we are humans, and also AI, not just all humans, can do mistakes for sure. And these are, because again, we're talking about decision making. The minute we talk about decision making, we are talking about uncertainty. So many things can go wrong. And unfortunately, in current world conditions, there are many things outside our control. So many things can go, I wouldn't say wrong, but deviating from what the frameworks, algorithm, or methodology we use in our decision making. So it comes down to how you gather information, how you decide on your alternatives, how you live with the consequences of your decision. So mistakes can happen. And
it always can happen. And since you mentioned the AI, we'd like to talk about the term people oftenly nowadays or like they don't mention as much as before about the intuition and its relevancy in decision making, and also, let's say, not decision making as much as we can say finance.
True. Intuition used to be a big proportion of decisions, especially for older generation, with all due respect to younger generations. And I would say, and I hope this something that I am about to say makes sense to the viewers, this intuition currently depends on what is called your identity capital. And identity capital means your interests, qualifications, skills, everything that you experienced in life. Like if I am traveling and exposed with highest economic or strategic circles, I am close, they call it, to the heat. Like I know the temperature of the business, that it might take a little bit more time for us to know about it, unless you experience it yourself. So everything that you experience in life is part of your identity capital. And based on your identity capital, I think intuition can be good, but if you worked a lot, invested in your identity capital.
And this also an issue a lot of people and experts, they talk about and they note about it, like that decision makers and specifically or especially leaders, they must avoid when it comes to leaders and how decision making can make them fatigue in making decisions, and you know, the environment around you and the people and criticism and also support. It can confuse the leaders sometimes, and it can make them get fatigue when it comes to decision making. So how can they
100%.
avoid this fatigue?
Absolutely. Decision fatigue is very real, and it's a big issue for important high-stake decision making. It happens, this situation happens when you have many decisions that are made on a daily basis, depending on your profession, seniority level, and everything. So if you are talking specifically about leaders, most probably they are making high-stake, high consequences decisions. And there is a theory saying that we have a certain level of decisions. Like, let's say you take 50 decisions a day. If you take the 51, you will feel fatigue. For example, I take 100 decisions. If I take the 101, I will feel fatigue.
Sounds logical.
Yeah, and so something simple as, like, if you have a long day working and then you go with friends and they ask you which cuisine would you like to eat, and they said, you will say, I don't care. So, like, you don't care about us? No, I don't care what to eat at this point because I am not capable of making decision. And then they will look at you, you're making higher decision than that, bigger decision than that. How come you cannot make that decision? This is decision fatigue. And if I give a quick example, one of the previous presidents in the US, he was trying to counter decision fatigue by minimizing the decisions that he had to make in simpler things, so he can free the capacity of his brain for bigger decisions. Something like what to wear, your outfit on a daily basis, because he gets into the press every day, right? So he claimed that he was using the same color of suits and shirts and everything, so that made his life a little bit easier. So
it's more formal.
So it's back to the framework, I would say, to counter decision fatigue is try to minimize the simpler decisions that you have to make, and also know your limits, like not to do everything yourself, the delegation, the urgent and important sort of matrix that we always talk about.
Yeah, and since you mentioned the story of a former US president and how he got to wear the same clothes every day, and also it's challenging because choosing clothes and many things, many daily decisions, it can affect your emotions and sometimes it can affect our ethics. So what role does ethics play in financial choices specifically?
A wonderful question. In finance, we know it's like there is a saying, why you rob the bank? Because the money is there. So the ethical considerations are very important in the financial industry. So things related to transparency and credibility. Not only, I would say, there is a magical word called compliance. Like all financial institutions or financial professionals, they have to, by the law, be compliant with the rules. But ethical consideration goes above and beyond that. It has to be transparent, putting yourself in the shoes of other. Like if I am advising someone in a financial or investment advice, I have to be perfectly ethical, putting everything in front on them in a transparent way with also credibility and responsibility, both of them.
Definitely, it's really important. So dear viewers, stay with us. We're going to be right back after this report with Dr. Rania Azmi. Stay tuned. Welcome back, our dear viewers, and we're back again with our guest this evening, Dr. Rania Azmi, the founder of Alexandrite Decisions. Welcome back, Dr. Rania, and it's really a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you.
And there's one of the most frequently asked questions to you. They always ask you this questions when it comes to women and people judgment toward women, where women are they judged differently in decision-making roles.
Yes, it is actually
Seriously.
widely asked.
It's obvious. Is it obvious?
It is obvious, unfortunately. So on a lighter note, in the Boston panel I mentioned about risk on and risk off environment, one of the panelists, I didn't realize I was the only woman in that panel of 6 of us. So one fellow panelist, he was trying to give an example about how easy it is to invest in certain type of investment. So he gave an example saying a housewife in Asia will invest in this. So I spontaneously replied and said, and a man too. So that's where everyone got alerted. And the second panelist said, like, when a man or a woman decide to invest, they will do this. So it's not only about women. So that's a lighter comment because it's taken for granted. I think it's something related to international culture, like the terminologies we use. Like if a little girl exhibit leadership behaviors, they will say she's bossy. If a boy do the same thing, is not. So in decisions, we would think that women naturally taking lighter decision, not the hard one. But according to research, I did actually a research about investment fund managers, if they are female or male counterparts. And the studies showed that female decision makers make better decisions thanks to two things. They are risk averse and they are less overconfident. With all due respect to male counterparts, that's a research that was...
It's a research.
It was verified, actually, coincidentally. I did this study in the Middle East market, but a couple of years later, the Financial Times published a research similar to that, comparing the performance based on gender on the decisions. So being less overconfident translate into less turnover in the portfolios, and similar thing for being risk averse.
Yeah, that's the thing. Of course, it's well explained from your behalf, Dr. Rania, and that's the thing we're wondering about how you stood up at this conference and you explained your point of view, and you have this information and this background about the subject you mentioned. And also, we hear a lot of people in academics, they mention information literacy, digital literacy, and many things related to it. And also we would like to know, since we are hearing a lot about digital literacy and information literacy, we'd like to know about how early we should learn about financial literacy.
Now.
Now.
The answer is no.
As soon as we can.
As soon, exactly.
It's an emergency.
Exactly. Well, it's interesting you raise this point because I have been a mentor in some of the United Nations programs for younger investors and innovators in the region and internationally. For the last for the last 2 years, I think it's in the wake of COVID, for young entrepreneurs and so on. So they realize that financial literacy, things that are basic for the person themselves to maintain high standards for their financials, to sustain life, especially after many crises that we have been through in the humanity, financial crisis, pandemic, and then high inflation and active wars and so on.
Global warming.
Exactly. And the other thing is that there are things related to the investment itself and finance basics. Aside from the UN, there were many initiatives even in Kuwait, and I got many good feedback from both women and men when it comes to financial literacy, and they are from different industries. It's really, I'm not exaggerating or biased, that it has to be done now.
Definitely. So if it's done now, it's related to speed. So what skill matters the most? Speed or accuracy when it comes to decision making and many other things in our daily lives? That's
an excellent question. And actually, do you know that there is a framework called speed over perfection? It's called 40-70 framework, 40-70% framework. So it has been observed from the strategic level to operational level. Any decision needs data, need information. I would say need informed information, not just like any data or any information. So the rule, to answer your question, is it speed or accuracy? Accuracy is related to perfection. So the 40-70 rules say if you have less than 40% of your information to make the decision, you are no longer making a decision. You are making a guessing. So, and this guessing is irrelevant. It means that you're just guessing, so it's no good. So you should have more information to build up to 70%. when you reach around 70%, you can make a good decision, and you have to be agile and in speed as possible, like to move between 40 and 70%. But if you wait until you are 100% sure and accurate, it's almost always too late.
Oh,
almost always too late. So to answer your question, a little tricky. If I am below 40% from information gathering, I would say speed doesn't matter. I need to reach the accuracy level, which is at least 70%. But if I am waiting and say, like, okay, this is 70%, I'm not sure, let me get to the 100% on the expense of time. No. Now, speed is more important than perfection.
It is, and we still have many questions to ask you, and also when it comes to habits and decision making and crisis, as we mentioned briefly, but the viewers will share with you this report, and we'll be back with our guests. Stay with us.